We're here today on January 7th for the board organizational meeting, and I am going to call the meeting to order at 6 p.m. Thank you. Can you do the roll call, please?
Yes, Reverend Eilert.
Here.
Mrs. Jarenick. Mrs. Mangan.
Here.
Dr. Swetchenow.
Here.
Mrs. Washburn.
Here.
Mrs. Jarenick let us know that she wasn't going to be able to attend this evening, so just want to let everyone know that.
Perfect. We're going to move on to the second item in our agenda, which is adoption of the board agenda. What I need is a motion and a second to adopt the agenda.
So moved. Second.
You're too fast. I can't keep track. John, you got that?
Yes. Reverend Eilert. Mrs. Mangan.
Yes.
Dr. Swetchenow.
Yes.
Mrs. Washburn.
Yes.
The third item on our agenda is to approve the board minutes from the December 11th special meeting work session. Those have been available online for us to review. If anybody has any concerns or questions, bring them up now. Otherwise, we can get a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved. I'll second.
Mrs. Mangan.
Yes.
Dr. Swetchenow.
Yes.
Mrs. Washburn.
Yes.
Reverend Eilert.
Yes. And the fourth item on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. I will lead the. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And moving right through the agenda today, we will be welcoming our guests.
We actually have no guests.
They stayed home because of
The weather, right?
cold.
I actually had 11 people cancel today, which is almost unheard of for me.
Wow.
The next and the final item on my personal portion of the agenda is election of the president. I need to open the floor to nominations as an initial step for the president. I will do that now.
Like to nominate Eilert. He did such a wonderful job the first time around.
Are there any additional nominations? Reverend Eilert, would you accept that nomination? Would. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I would move at this point in time to close the nominations for president. I would need a motion to do that, or no, I just need a roll call vote.
Motion.
I'll make the motion to close.
I will second the motion.
Okay. Ready for the roll call?
Absolutely.
Okay. Mrs. Mangan.
Yes.
Dr. Swetchenow.
Yes.
Mrs. Washburn.
Yes.
Reverend Eilert.
Yes. I think I might have done that a little bit wrong because that was our motion to approve Reverend Eilert.
That was actually the motion. That was to close. We
Okay.
took a vote to close the nomination. And so now we'll need a motion and a second to appoint him.
I will move to appoint Reverend Eilert to this esteemed position.
I will second.
Dr. Swetchenow.
Yes.
Mrs. Washburn.
Yes.
Reverend Eilert.
Yes.
Mrs. Mangan.
Yes.
And I still get one more thing to do, which is I will preside over the nominations for the vice president. Are there anybody who would like, or is there anybody here who would like to nominate anybody for the vice presidency?
I'd like to nominate Lynn Mangan for the vice presidency.
Wonderful. I would love to see Lynn Mangan as the vice president. Would you be willing to accept that?
Yes.
Then I would, are there any other nominations for vice president? Then I would move to close the nominations, and we need a motion and a second for that.
Motion that we close the nominations for vice president.
We actually don't need a second, so we're good.
Okay, perfect.
Now we take the roll call.
Okay.
Mrs. Washburn.
Yes.
Reverend Eilert.
Yes.
Mrs. Mangan.
Yes.
Dr. Swetchenow.
Yes. And then finally, I would ask for a motion to appoint Mrs. Mangan as the vice president for the Board of Election for 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Reverend Eilert.
Yes.
Mrs. Mangan.
Yes.
Dr. Swetchenow.
Yes.
Mrs. Washburn.
Yes.
And so comes an end to my time as the president.
Well done.
Thank you.
Well done.
Great work.
I'm going to take my sign and I'm going to move over there. Thank you guys for willing to be with me.
Thank you for being willing to step into that role.
Let me be the first to say congratulations, Reverend Eilert and Ms. Mangan. I appreciate all the work you do. And Dr. Swetchenow, excellent job. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. If I can live up to
5 minutes, we got
It's
through
the
the first
5
several.
minutes that we've already gone through here. Next thing we want to do is look at our timing of our meetings for this next year. I know one in particular that I would like a little bit of discussion about. Eric, you said you're not able to be here the 18th of March, is that
Correct.
correct? And I am also unable to be here for that meeting. So I'm wondering if there is an alternative date that we might consider for March 18th regular meeting.
You guys unavailable that whole week or just that week?
Yes, I'll be in North Carolina doing hurricane relief that week. I don't know about you, Eric.
I have a spring break for 2 of my kids. I'm hoping that we'll be out. And then the other 2 kids are the week before that.
I was gonna say the week before I'd be unavailable, but the week after.
I should be available March 25th if that works.
That's spring break.
Oh, here,
Oh.
okay. That's not on my.
I don't have that on the calendar.
How would you feel about potentially just making the first, so the March 4th, a regular session and eliminating a work session that month?
For everybody?
That works
Does it
for
mess
me.
up timing on any particular?
Not
I
really.
think that should work. Yeah.
Yeah.
March 18th is my birthday too, so
Ah, there you go.
well,
You set it up that way.
Happy
Night
birthday
off.
to you then. It's your present. You say happy 50.
You
wish.
Sure.
not quite.
I'm
just jealous.
May 6th, I may be unavailable. I'm the only one. It doesn't matter.
I'm good on May 6th.
Mhm.
I'm not good on June 24th.
Anyone else have an issue with the June date?
That should be okay for June 24th.
As long as we're only missing one, we're okay. It's when we get to
Just
2 that
looking
starts to get sketchy.
June is a tough month for us because of closing the books and trying to make sure that it's late enough.
Should be good, June 24th.
Then October 21, I'm planning to be out of the country. I'm trying to convince Lynn to go with me on that trip too, so.
Where are you going?
To Greece and Turkey.
Sounds great.
Maybe we'll all go.
I'm sorry, it's not the 21st, it's the 7th. I'll just be getting back that day.
Is it October?
Yeah.
Could be that if we don't have anything for a work session anyway, we could
Do the same
cancel it.
thing. Yep.
Well, if no one else,
Want to leave it on tentative.
yeah, we can leave it
now,
there
and then
tentatively.
It's easier to take one away than to add it later.
Mhm. And I did like our early December meeting, and I
Yep.
always said that was an option, and we can just leave that as optional as we want, or if we want, I don't know if we want to pencil it in as a work session.
Would you want to add December 9th as a work session?
I think you had the 2nd.
The second's on the,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think what we would need to do is strike no meeting or board governance session. So it says December 2nd. So the way it's listed right now.
Mhm. Yep.
Mhm.
We need a motion to amend the agenda then, or?
No, it's listed, so I'll just note it in the minutes.
All right, any other than concerns about that? So we need a motion to approve the list as presented with one amendment. The March 18th meeting eliminated, March 4th becoming a regular session.
And then adding.
And then
December,
adding
yeah.
December 2nd as.
Do you want to add it as a work session or keep it as the board governance like we did before? It doesn't make any difference.
It doesn't matter. If you do it as a work session, then I don't have to notice it. And work sessions and regular sessions are really the same for us.
Right.
With the exception of, in our board policy, we say work session. We delineate it as a work session, but really by approving these dates, it becomes a regular session. That makes sense.
No, it makes sense.
All right, so do we have a motion
So
to
moved.
approve the amended?
I'll second.
Great. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Mangan.
Yes.
Dr. Swetchino.
Yes.
Mrs. Washburn.
Yes.
Reverend Eiler.
Yes. All right, and then we have our annual board resolutions to let everyone do what they need to do. One note on this, there are some policies that we review by law, and within those policies, one of them, the IJA, Christina had noted just some editorial things that I think we just approved this because they weren't substantive, but just make a note of that. So Eric, the next time we're doing policy review, we'll want to make a couple of editorial adjustments to IJA.
I have them listed, so I already have it redlined. So then when the
Great.
policy meeting, when the policy committee meets, we can
Later.
discuss. It's just tying up some language.
Thank you. Any other questions, concerns about the rest of this resolution? I have a motion then to approve the annual board resolutions as listed here.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Mangan.
Yes.
Dr. Swetchino.
Yes.
Mrs. Washburn.
Yes.
Reverend Eiler.
Yes. All right. Then as we begin the new year as well, we have a motion to approve and recognize our booster and PTA groups that are listed here.
So moved.
Roll call, please.
Dr. Swetchino.
Yes.
Mrs. Washburn.
Yes.
Reverend Eiler.
Yes.
Mrs. Mangan.
Yes.
You. Thanks to all of our booster and organizations that support the work that this district does. So much work is represented on that listing there. A lot of effort. All right, tax advances. Anything to say about that?
This just allows us to request advances from all three counties, and it allows us to get the money ahead of time instead of waiting on the settlements. It allows us to gain interest on those funds. So it's advantageous for us to request these. Some counties are more difficult than the other to get these from. Some we have to ask for each and every month for it. Some we can just give one request, but that's just authorizing me to ask for advances.
Motion then to approve the resolution to request tax advances for the county auditors through the collection year 2020.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Washburn.
Yes.
Reverend Eiler.
Yes.
Mrs. Mangan.
Yes.
Dr. Swetchino.
Yes.
You. Next, number 7 are representatives to Loveland City Council committees. These are folks that represent our interests. One of the things we talked about and didn't happen this last year was getting reports back from each of these folks to one of our meetings. So I think we need to be more diligent about that this year, just scheduling throughout the year, having each one of them come and give some kind of a reporting about what's happening in each of those areas. Any questions about the folks that are listed here? We have a motion for this resolution to appoint board representatives to the Loveland City Council Committee.
I'll second.
Reverend Eilert,
Yes?
Mrs. Megan,
Yes.
Dr. Swetchnow.
Yes.
Mrs. Washburn.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Then we move forward to our district committee representatives. And these are our annual appointments to help us facilitate our work as a board. And so we want to create our list now, and I know we had some discussion about this last time. We need to formalize that now. Facility committees, I believe, will continue to be me and Dr. Schwetznau. Is that correct? Is that everyone's-
I am happy to serve.
Great. Finance Committee, the two of you again, is that correct? Student Experience, Eileen and Christina again, correct? Policy Committee, Eric and me again. Legislative Committee, Lynn and Eileen, was that gonna be you or is that gonna be me? I don't remember who we talked about.
We both said we were willing to do it. Whatever you would prefer.
Coin flip?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter to me.
You're doing two so far, and Eileen's doing one.
Yeah.
I have the business advisory and the other one, so if you want me to, I'm happy to, otherwise.
Great.
And then he's communication.
Eileen for Business Advisory Council, Communications, we had two before, correct? It was Lynn and Christina.
yeah.
All right, does that make sense to everybody?
Mhm.
Works for me. Is that okay, Eileen? I didn't mean to volunteer you for an
Yeah.
extra. Okay.
Just to clarify, for legislative, I
Mhm.
have Mrs. Megan and Mrs. Washburn.
Right.
Okay.
Eileen, our names are too much Eilert and Eileen.
I know.
For Business Advisory Council, I wrote down Eilert. I'm like, wait a minute. I got it partially right. Okay. We have clarity on all of those then. Do we have a motion to approve that list?
Do we need one?
We don't need
We
one.
don't need one. That's right. Did that last year too. Okay, great. Thank you. So next is our superintendent's update.
Just
I
a
want to see pictures of Aruba. just for clarification.
No, just a big thank you to our maintenance crew and our head custodians as well as our custodians. They have been working nonstop. You probably have no idea how tough it is to clear parking lots. And had a few people say, well, the roads didn't look too bad today. The main roads look pretty good. The side roads are the problem and our parking lots are the problem. We just finally got the high school cleared up. And I just want to say thank you to that group. They worked a lot. Mr. Bryant even had a shovel in his hand getting things done. So we're going to make sure tomorrow morning we get everything salted. I think we're pretty good. I would ask for the parents for a little bit of patience because we still have about 3 side streets that we are going to have to change the bus stop because the buses cannot get down yet, kind of cul-de-sac where it's hard to get turned around. So, but we've contacted every family so that they know that is the case. And the last thing I would say is thank you to the Loveland City as well as Miami Township for working so hard to get it cleared up. And we're in business tomorrow. So that's it.
Great. All right, treasurer items.
So the only item I have this evening is approval of the 2026 tax budget. So what this is Hamilton County requires us to essentially move our 5-year forecast from a fiscal year into a calendar year, and that's what this tax budget does. And so it's based off of my projections within the 5-year forecast. And again, just put into calendar year terms. You had approved in November, a resolution to allow me to file a modified tax budget, and now this is the modified tax budget for your approval, so I can submit ahead of January 20th.
Any questions on the tax budget as presented?
One item to note, you'll notice on the debt page, there's no debt. So district is debt-free from a building standpoint and bond standpoint.
Well, that was the one thing I noted too in terms of income. So the bond revenue is also zeroed out. Means people should see some positive.
Correct.
You know, positive outcome to their tax bill from the school finances.
That is correct. It was about, it ended up being lowered to like 0.99 mils. So it's right at about a mil that each family should see, or each community member should see fall off.
Excellent. All right, there are no other questions. We have a motion to approve the 2026 tax budget.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Mangan,
Yes.
Dr. Swetchnow,
Yes.
Mrs. Washburn,
Yes.
Reverend Eilert.
Yes. All right, I believe that concludes our agenda for this evening then. We have a motion to adjourn.
A second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Right.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned at 6:22 PM.